And welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And folks, we're going to do an update on mortgage fraud. We got Miss Latricia Hughes here, and she's going to give us an update on her case. It's something else. When corruption is corrupt, it's corrupt, believe me. And also, we're going to talk about the 94 crime bill and what the Living and Driving While Black Foundation, in conjunction with the Redemption Party, wrote a bill to rescind it. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. And welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And folks, we got a great conversation today. We're going to talk about the 1994 crime bill. But up first, we're going to talk to one of our hosts, Miss Lucretia Hughes, who are fighting a illegal fraud mortgage scam. We had talked about her situation on a previous show, but we want to give her an opportunity to give us an update. But let me get my monologue started. Testing 1, 2. It was back in the 60s when it first started. They made every black man think that he could be a dope dealer and a pusher man. I hated when the movie Superfly came out because every brother and his mother wanted to wear those crazy clothes, get their hair with rollers in them, and what they call pimping hoes. But this was only the beginning, and a lot of black men and women didn't understand where we were going. They came out with a clothesline that made you think that you could be a superfly. They flooded the black community with dope and heroin and all sorts of pills. They created this movie and it made it seem like being a pusher man could make your money and make you successful. So with this imagery, black men across the city of Chicago was getting their hair pressed. Some of them wasn't. They was getting their new Cadillacs. They were buying cars, converting them into Cadillacs and Lincoln Continental. It was a clown show to me as a young man. I watched people fall into the mindset of thinking that selling dope was the way to go to get rich. But in the meantime, it was just a setup. Once all those brothers started selling dope and making money and buying things and homes and cars, the feds just sit back and watch. Local police stations was in cahoots with they call it gang banging or the pimps and hoes. And the black community seemed like it flourished. But in all actuality, it was the setup for what we see today. That's the reason why I got this music playing behind me to set the tone for the meeting today, what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the 1994 crime bill. Because after this era of Superfly, they took all the economics out of the black community. They shut down all the factories. Black people couldn't get jobs. They brought in all the dope that they could and made a black man think I could get rich selling it. Thus, the black community was on its way to becoming the ghetto. And in saying that, I'm going to bring my guest in and we're going to discuss this matter and we'll get it on. Hey, Lucretia, how you doing?
Hey, Pastor.
Can
Hey,
y'all hear me?
yes, we
Yes.
can.
Yeah, I had to drop this soundtrack for y'all. Some of y'all, Lucretia, like what you really was young in those days.
Oh, yeah.
But I wanted to do it because, Doc, you just with the Redemption Party created a bill, and we're gonna talk about that. But let's first get updated on Lucretia. Lucretia, let the people know what's going on in your case because let me tell you guys something. Lucretia has been fighting like crazy. This system that she's fighting, now we know that it's not just the mortgage company that want the property. It's also the public, the DA, and it's a whole and totally corruption. The fraud has been exposed because Lucretia and her husband has continued to flood the courts with TROs, memos, new evidence that we found that how could a dead person sign a deed a year later? All sorts of infractions. I'm gonna let Lucretia talk about that. Lucretia, tell our listeners what's going on in your case today.
Well, if it wasn't for you, Pastor, looking over a lot of motions and injunctions and different things and, trying to keep our psyche up, I don't know where we would be because at this point, I just feel like, you know what? They are working against us. We went ahead and we found all the information, and with the work of Chat GPT and AI, I decided to do a criminal diagram of how all this comes together. And I actually sent it to the DA, and he's looking at me like they don't want to touch it. But when you realize that the other side of lawyers are the active city attorneys, then you're not going to get any help anyway. And that is where we're at. So yesterday, on the bequest of I have had enough, I went ahead and I filed a motion to enforce due process and request immediate hearing, and it was sent to the judge. This is going against not only our 4th and 5th Amendment rights, also our 14th Amendment right. This right now is this got us in a stranglehold. And I don't know what else to do. And most attorneys, they so dang on timid that they won't go up against another active attorney that set it in motion. And they definitely not going to go against active city attorneys. So I have no idea why you go to the bar and why you got a license if you're not going to help people.
Well, that's part of the corruption that we've seen. Believe me, this is not the first. There was these type of scams going back way back when I was a young man, and especially in the black community was preyed upon. And a lot of black people didn't get the assistance and they lost their homes. But in this fight, Lucretia, just like I spoke to you this morning, and folks, this is a ferocious fight. The sad thing of it is that we have filed all the paperwork. They did not file their pleadings. They have not complied with anything of the discovery process. They have just been still. And so when they got in violations of the time frame, we started filing the TROs. We started filing motions to dismiss. All of these things have already been done, but they haven't answered and said anything, Doc. Not one document has been put forth. Nothing has been put forth because when we filed about the pleadings were late, then the judge reached out for them and they didn't even come back. Talk about that, Chris. Tell them what happened with that.
In order, because you can type so much in Peach Corp, they have to go to a whole nother chat. So I went in there this morning in Peach Corp and I pulled all 60 lines and I looked at it. The last time they have even answered anything was in August. So, like I said, there's 3 TROs, temporary restraining orders, from them destroying our house. There is about 5 motions that they have not responded to. There's injunctions they have not even responded to. And the court system is just allowing them to be quiet as we're riding by, and they're still destroying our house. When last week a proposed order is granting emergency TRO, that right there was on 12/8. They have not responded. The other TRO was in November. The first TRO was in October. They have not responded to anything.
Doc, now I know you're in the legal field as well as myself, because for me, and I want your thoughts on this too, Mr. Mickey. For me, when the other side has not complied with the discovery rules as far as bringing in the information, the time frames and all like that, and now with all this information to the butt, even new information that shows that the grandmother was dead after the signing of some papers and stuff. Doc, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm not an attorney. I'm only a paralegal, but I would think you would be able to file a summary judgment because they're not responding, and demand that the judge give you a summary judgment for non-response.
I will send you our Peach Court docket number, and it's gonna discuss you. It's gonna discuss you.
Well,
because it doesn't make any sense for the non-response. But again, that's when, like I said, I'm not an attorney, I'm just paralegal. But usually in situations where people aren't responding, then you can go to the judge and say, okay, we want a summary judgment. We want a judgment on this
for
because
default.
They have not responded yet to be a default.
We've already filed that, Doc.
Wow.
That in October, and I filed again in November.
And no response.
Your thoughts, Mr. Biggie?
Wow.
Well, all I can say is we don't have a justice system. We've got a just us system. And the biggest problem is it's not the people out here committing crimes that are actually the criminals. It's the people that are creating the laws that are criminals, because they can change that law. They can change a law. And I think everybody, Doc, you probably know this. The government creates definitions to words that they create in the law. They'll say that automobile or vehicle means this.
Right.
Sidewalk means that. So what they're doing is creating their own system within our system. And what Lucretia's facing here now is all the rules that she's got to follow don't mean nothing to them because they created it. So they're just ignoring anything that she's got to say, even though she is probably 100% correct in what she's doing. They're playing using their legalities against her, but they're making her walk the fine line. Our legal system is the most corrupt system in the world now, because it ain't about justice. It's about just us, and we're not included in that. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I definitely.
Go ahead, Doc.
No, I was just saying that I agree with what Mr. Binky is saying, and he's not wrong, because they set the rules so that the little man can't win.
Yeah, they're protecting themselves for the benefit of themselves. This is all about power, control, and money. And you're only going to get what they want you to have. And that's Lucretia is the example of that right now.
Well, and I do believe the system sometimes, it is most of the time skewed, but the process you still have to take, and that's what I was talking to Lucretia about this morning. She has filed all the necessary paperwork that a lawyer's office will file in a situation like this. They will keep flooding the courts and keep putting in things into the system. So it only shows it give you a paper trail of you doing all the right things and they doing all the wrong things. Because think about this, whatever this judge is doing, whenever he comes back, whatever decision he renders, with all the information that's been there, the new information that showed that the grandmother was dead, that signatures are false, I'm interested to see what he got on to say, because it is on him now. He's allowed them to go all this time without any pleadings. They have totally broken the rules. So whatever that judge says on paper, what his thought pattern is, then that way we'll know what the next steps we need to take. What do you think about that, Doc?
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes back to is the judge, because this isn't a jury trial. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was like, should be able to go to the judge to get a summary judgment on default because there has been no response. That's what's supposed to happen. So it comes back to who is the judge, right?
His name is Judge.
Why?
And I'm looking at Peach Corp right now just to see. The last time that the defendants respond to the plaintiff, they said what I was filing is voluminous and untimely pleadings. No, it's not. No, it's not.
But
Lucretia, did you in any?
They're saying they're voluminous. There's too many pleadings to respond to. That can't be true. You haven't responded to anything.
Lucretia, did you ever in any of your filings give them a timeline to answer you? Did you give them 30 days to get an answer, or there's got to be a timeline there for them to respond to you. You got
the judge set the timeline during the when you did the trial, when you set the trial up. When you go into the process, the judge gives you automatic timeline to respond to each of these areas. So the judge knows that they cannot answer. This is what I'm seeing. The judge knows that they cannot answer these TROs because they haven't filed any paperwork.
That I'm looking at the Peach Corp now. I'm looking at line 16. The last time that they did anything was August the 22nd. And I filed we filed a lot from August 22nd. And then all of a sudden, right down here at 11:20 is when they coming in and saying, oh, that's just too much. It's untimely pleading. It's too much for us to answer. No, it's not, because I didn't.
So they did respond.
On November the 20th.
Well, that shouldn't matter to them because they should have gotten their stuff in the proper time. See, that's why I was telling you, even though what they saying don't mean nothing, because you've already entered this into the system, into the court system. Everything was done in the perfect timing. So that's their fault if they let the volume of motions and all that add up on them, because that's their fault. So I just think that whatever this judge come back and says, it don't matter, whatever he say, if he doesn't do the right thing, it just opens the door for you to take it to the next court. And with all this information on this docket, any judge with some common sense, if it goes to another level, is going to kick that out. I just see us winning this, because whatever that they write or anything that they write from this point can only harm themselves more. What do you think, Doc?
Yeah, typical pleadings usually get a 30 to 60 day response. Typical pleadings. So if they from August to November and they waited almost 90 days to say this is too much for us to respond to, is a lie, because you have to, even if you don't respond, it's almost like you have to file to say we're not responding to this. I know it sounds silly, right? But they're supposed to do that. And they're trying to now play the victim, which is weird. When you're the victim. Well, that's what they're trying to set up. But to your point, Pastor, it does set you up for further success if you decide to take it from Superior Court to Supreme Court for them to then make a ruling.
Well, the appellate court and the Georgia Supreme Court and the United States Supreme Court has all said that any contract entered in with forgery or fraud is null and void.
Article 1, Section 10. Article 1, Section 10.
Exactly. So that's why I say we it's the waiting game now. Anytime that you got the enemy on the run, he's going to fight his hardest. So he's going to do something to make you think that you haven't done a good job. You've done an excellent job as far as handling this case. And, folks, Lucretia and them is homeless. It's the holidays. If there's anything that people can want to donate, where can they donate to you at in this situation?
The easiest way, because Dave's not in here, but I will send it to you, Pastor, because we're going to be playing this again right after this. It would be immediately. You can go to Cash App Lucretia Hughes 44, because it all go in one bank account. Me and my husband are married. We don't have separate anything. So it all goes into one bank account, and that's Cash App, Lucretia Hughes, 44. I'm so tired, y'all three. I want to do the right thing. But when you're sitting here and you know who these people are, and they are the sitting active attorneys inside of this county, and you know they have friends in Superior Court, they have friends in the court system, they will tell people when to file, how to file it. This is not right anymore.
Yeah.
Well, this corruption is what we're seeing not only here with your case, but it's all over. I'm working on several cases, and it looks like the system needs to be overhauled. And I think
think about what Doc just said. If me or Dave would have waited 60 or 90 days to respond, they would have kicked us out of the system.
You would have lost already. They would have already, you've already lost, and they would have, they would already did what they wanted to do, and you would be out of the way. But the fact of the matter is, because you haven't been that way and you filed everything, it puts them on a position to where they're afraid to answer right now.
Yeah.
Because they have no answers, because even when you put that last piece of paper and that evidence that showed that your grandmother was already dead, so how could she sign a paper, a document a year later, and she been in the ground? See, all of that information that they got, they looking at it. Don't you think so, Doc? They looking at this and trying to figure out a way to get around it.
Yeah, and they can't. They can't. That's why they haven't responded.
Exactly. That's what I was telling you, Lucretia. So she's sitting in a pretty good place, don't you think, Doc?
I do. I really do. Again, I'm not an attorney. This is my opinion, because I'm not dealing with UPL. It's called an unauthorized practice of law, and they try to nitpick with paralegals like myself that have a degree. So this is just my opinion.
Well, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it outright. I think that they stuck. They know that they stuck. And anytime they respond, they're going to put their foot deeper into the mess that they've already created. It sounds like the Democrats, man. It sounds just like the Democrats. They'll create a problem. Then when they sound like Brandon Johnson. He created the problem with the migrants. And now he on the TV crying, talking about, y'all just give me something to work with when I was hungry. I wanted to say the N-word so bad. I watched that. And I was hungry, and my lights went on, and I went to the refrigerator, and it was no food. Okay, all right. He has stole almost $1 billion for himself out of this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And what it goes to show, guys, is this. Our judicial system is corrupt. It is totally corrupt. And the prison ministry that I have, we've been helping men and women get out of prison for 30 years. We've been working with different agencies to be able to get them clothing, jobs, and all the good 9 yards, right? In 1994, the crime bill came out. And a young senator named Joe Biden. Now, this is from the Democratic Party. See, black people, we get all caught up into the parties, right? Especially black people. To the American people and patriots across this country, especially the black citizens. Black people are so lost in their mind because the Democrats are the most deceiving party on this earth. They made black people think that they had their backs, that they was going to help them. They are the ones who flooded the community with the drugs and the guns and all the other things that they tried on us. They pulled out all the economics out the black community. Thus, when they put all this stuff together, black men and women was going to jail if you spit on the ground. And so the crime was bad because they wanted the crime to be bad, not because they couldn't have stopped it, but they wasn't going to stop themselves from bringing the drugs in because they were making money. Corrupt police officers, corrupt judges, lawyers, the whole 9 yards was going on. And the focus was in the black community. And so now here we are, 2025. I can remember back in 1974, that's why I was playing the Superfly stuff, because every black man thought that, man, I'm going to get me a kilo and I'm going to get rich. I'm going to move out the ghetto.
Mm-mm.
And it was the ghetto that they was creating themselves in their mind, because they act like they didn't know the world. And that's why so many of our black men is behind the wall today. But in 1994, guys, and I want to play this because I want black people to watch the show who will be looking at this show. And I'm trying to jog your memory, because instead of all the racist situation and mindset that the Democrats are using now, they keep saying, hate Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump. It's the psychological warfare, the continuing pounding on you, and that's what you'll do. But to black people, you need to wake up. You need to wake the hell up, because that's why I'm finna put this information out there, because the Democratic Party has not been conducive, nor have they ever wanted to help black people. All they wanted to do was use us, and once they got into power, they turned their back on us. They let other people come into our community, just like the Jews was there. They passed the baton to the Orientals. The Oriental passed the baton over to the Sand Negroes from over the whatever. And then now they're sitting there ready to pass the baton over to the illegal migrants. And all of these people was brought into the United States to come in and get rich off the black community and then go to the next level. Just like the Somalis. The Somalis came here under Barack Obama, guys, and they done took a whole state over, like Minnesota. Your thoughts on that, Mr. Binky?
Well, everything you're saying is the truth. Conquer and divide. You know, you're. It's just like Lucretia sitting there drinking her tea right now. If you take that tea and you put a little bit of water in there and a little bit of coffee in there, you don't have tea no more. You know, I hate. It's just goofy to say something like that, but the Democratic Party from day one, from day one when this country was created, they hated this country. I have to put it in that terms. For everything that I'm looking at from day one, they've done everything in their power to take back what we created for everybody. All men were created equal, and the Democrats come in here, and I know a lot of people didn't like Thomas Jefferson and stuff like that because of a lot of stuff that's been said, but Thomas Jefferson was trying to end slavery. He was trying to end slavery. And after he died in 1829, I think it was, the Democratic Party started to, they wanted to push slavery to the West. And that's what created the Republican Party. Now, now they've got the black community thinking that they're not capable enough of taking care of themselves. The government's got to do it. And they say it every day. Anything that they want to pass in a law is about government taking care of you. Yeah. That's not how this country was created on. It was John Adams that said that we want laws of government, not of man. That means, the state of Illinois, for example, has got 284,000 different laws, taxes, restrictions, requirements, whatever you want to call it. How the heck are you going to live like a free man there? No matter what you do, you're going to do something wrong, and they're going to pounce on you. But then when you're a real criminal, they came up with a safety act.
Yes.
And they protect the criminal. So tell me, what am I doing out here that I'm living free at when I've got 284,000 laws there, and then they come up with laws to protect criminals? Where I can't figure out what are we doing?
Because sorry.
No, go ahead, Doc.
Go ahead, Doc.
Well, because Mr. Binky, they're not laws, they're policies. They're like running executive orders, right? That run contrary to the Constitution, but no governor has actually stood up and cleaned it up.
Exactly.
Right? Because they're part of the system, right?
Yes.
Like when you said it's not justice, it's just us.
Do
it for us, right? Honor amongst thieves is
it's gone.
It's horrific what's happening. And you know, when you look at Lucretia's case, this is what it looks like.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
And Mr. Binky, to your point, this is what it looks like when you actually have people that love to live off the fat of the land, right?
Hmm.
But don't want to follow the laws.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They live.
Lucretia?
They're living a lot higher than we are.
Yes.
They've got all the pay, the benefits, the retirement. They don't have to work all their life like we do, but they're living in mansions. I mean, how many mansions does Obama got now? 4 or 5?
Right.
Yeah.
And hey, climate change was supposed to take out a couple of those because they're coastal.
I forgot about that.
And they're still there. They're not underwater.
And look at what Lucretia's going through. She's tried to keep her one house, her house where she lives at, and can't do it.
Lucretia?
Last night I came across the video because I could not sleep, and it said of the culture of the 1940s, of the black culture, that is, from the North and the South. Now the South blacks didn't have much. They had, wooden floors. They had, dirt floors. They had, hanging stuff, all of this stuff to prove that they was poor and impoverished, but they didn't act like it. The poor blacks in the South, they kept everything clean. That there was a standard, a value, and having security, even though you had less. And the person that was doing the video said they moved up to Chicago at the same time, and they said the culture of the North blacks and the South blacks all have to do with how they was actually raised. Do they got the values? Do they believe in God? Do they believe in hard work? Do they believe in keeping up everything they own? But as they went and moved up to the North, to Chicago, they realized all the black people, only thing they did was sat outside on a stoop because they was waiting for the government to come and take care of them, so they didn't have to work. So the mindset and the culture of the black community is different from down here in the Jim Crow South or the Bible Belt till this day up in there in the North and Chicago and New York. You could tell it when you cross over from North Carolina to Virginia. It's like, no ma'am, yes ma'am, no sir. That's going out the window, and they all look like they ain't got no manners up there. So there's a difference. We can't even say that's our culture. So the black people in the North isn't the culture of the black people in the South. So I don't know how in the world we're going to unite with that, because the black people in the South have a culture of working, busting their tails, respect, value, honor, and everything else. But when you go above the Mason-Dixon line, that's out the window. So how are we supposed to unite with a culture that I can't agree with?
Well, I mean,
I'm from Indiana, and I was raised like I was from the South because a lot of my people were from
There you go. What I'm saying is
they don't want us to unite, Lucretia.
No, they don't.
They're keeping us divided. It don't matter. The rich, the poor, the black, the white, whatever. There's always some sort of division between Americans.
I think that because when I'm from Mississippi, when we came to Chicago, there was more of the type of Southern attitude that came to Chicago, because we continued to say yes ma'am and no sir and all of those type of things. And the black community in Chicago, nobody was ever on welfare. My mother and father had jobs. Everybody on the block had jobs. See, I think that where we started to lose it at was when that generation started to hand over the reins to our generation, and we took it to the next level, because my generation said, guess what? We want economics. We're going to create our own economics. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. All of that, which made our community strong and safe. But what happened is as time went on, the enemy never sleeps. The Democrats had to figure out a way to pull black people up out of the mindset of being conservative, because I grew up in the house that was a Democratic house, but it was a conservative lifestyle. So that kept that basic and structure from down south in place. But the Democrats got smart, because after a while, once that they started to see that the black community was rising, they had to figure out a way to stop it. And so when 1974, when they created the Roe versus Wade, they started attacking us from different ways. The black family in Chicago, which were business owners, the schools, public schools were good. I got a great education. Graduated from high school at 15. It was all about us not having knowledge. It was about the black community being intact so that we could continue to teach our kids the Southern way, the way we was brought up. But after my generation, I think things started to be dwindled away because those who went off to school, those who took over in the community, they got obsessed with the fact that they were getting paid off. They didn't care about if I was bringing in manufacturing firms to my ward, or they wasn't seeking economics. That third generation after us started to allow the schools to lose their sports, home economics, the trades, all of those things. And then when they ended up making the Board of Education, they changed the whole curriculum. So I've had a chance to watch that attitude and the structure of the South, because everybody from down South was up in Chicago, okay? Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Arkansas. I mean, my parents and all of their friends got together on Sundays, and man, they put things together, and we were a team and we were a family. But as the generations went on, they started taking things away out the black community, because there's no way that we would see the type of stuff that happened back in my day. There wouldn't have been no homosexuality. There wouldn't have been no books talking about somebody, lesbian. None of that stuff happened. So the system, and I want to say the Democratic Party, was smart because they were trying to figure out a way to say that one day black people are going to wake up and they're going to realize that we're the ones who have been destroying them, and they're going to walk away from the Democratic Party. And guys, I want your thoughts. Do you think that that time is now? With the migrants coming in, they showed their hand, all the decimation with the prisons and all of that. What do you think, Doc?
Oh yeah, they've definitely played their hand. Definitely. The Great New Society, that was LBJ, and that's what we see now. They wanted like this utopian type, hey, we're going to give you, they didn't call it universal basic income, they called it welfare, but we're going to give you this to help you and prop you up. And all it created was dependency in some families, because some families refuse that. But to your point, it's the destruction. Can you see the destruction in front of your face? And people are still blue no matter who. It is crazy to me. It is crazy to me. I was like, this party has literally outwardly said that they are going to completely destroy you, and you are still outside going, hey, we're still here. I'm like, for what? They do not care. There was a pastor that said the Democratic Party knows they're going to get your vote and they're not going to do anything for you. And the Republican Party knows they're not going to get your vote and they're not going to do anything for you. Where are you politically? Who's doing anything for you? And you're still crying, help us.
I'm still trying to figure out how black females think they out there talking about we're welcoming Somalia. Y'all are us. No, they're not. And then you're seeing video after video after video of these Somali people saying, this one that I saw Mr. Binky that kind of F me up yesterday. It was like, you white crackers out there, you white devils, you're going to pay my welfare and my food stamps and my EBT. This is the Somali man saying, all you white people out there, we're going to make you our slaves, and this is our country now, and we're going to overtake it. I said, we wish you would. And now I'm seeing more black people coming out here and making videos saying, you in the wrong country. We wish you would. We ain't playing with any of y'all. So Afghanis, Somalis, all this stuff that President Trump has done in the last 2 days, or the last week, there's now like 15 or 20 different countries, third world shitholes, that deciding, you know what, you ain't even coming in our nation anymore. Skedaddle.
Yeah, and it's weird they're calling it racist. That's not racist. That's protecting our borders.
I'm so sick of it. I am so sick of it because, our community is on the last legs, and that's what black people better understand. All these diversions to help other people, but we can't even help ourselves. I'm sitting up here thinking every day with this prison ministry that we have, I'm thinking about the effects of how our educated people the fraternities and sororities, those brothers and sisters that went out there and voted for the Democratic Party in droves, tricking people, telling them, oh, Donald Trump is a racist, Donald Trump this, and Donald Trump that. But they never even thought about to look at the person that was running. Joe Biden was the grand wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. Him and Strom Thurmond. I mean, black people, we supposed to be so smart. But our educated people did not even look to see that Joe Biden created a crime bill that sent a lot of your mamas and daddies and cousins and brothers to prison.
Yeah.
And then they still voted for him. Let me play this clip right quick. We're going to get started.
1993, Joe Biden drafted a bill that would change this country forever. The Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, or 1994 Crime Bill, has destroyed families and communities and continues to incarcerate people of color in numbers never seen anywhere else in the world. This bill led to the mass incarceration crisis we currently have in the United States. Now that Biden is president, he has the opportunity to undo this wrong. Still, he has done nothing. The following video is a collection of Biden and his stance on incarceration over the past 30 years.
Consensus is A, we must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask, what made them do this? They must be taken off the street.
To that, we got to change the system. I joined with a group of people in the House to provide for changing the system from punishment to rehabilitation.
And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth. You're looking at the fellow who was one of the primary architects of the Sentencing Commission. You know what the basic premise of the Sentencing Commission is? I know the presiding officer knows. It was the first time in 80 years we rejected the notion that the condition of sentencing must be related to how long it would take to rehabilitate. I'm the guy that said rehabilitation, when it occurs, we don't understand it and notice it. And even when we notice it and we know it occurs, we don't know why. So you cannot make rehabilitation a condition for release. That's why in our system, there's the federal system, you serve 85% of your time.
In a nutshell, the president's plan doesn't include enough police officers to catch the violent thugs, not enough prosecutors to convict them, not enough judges to sentence them, and
All right, guys, your thought on that.
I can't stand him and his crackhead son. And now you got Jasmine Crockett, you got Brandon Johnson, you got Ancient Mammy up there in New York saying that if you're poor, you're going to be a criminal, but don't worry about it. You know what? If he could focus on his own crackhead family and that dysfunctional group of people, you know what? I'm a jungle monkey. He don't want to be on the bus with these jungle monkeys. You know, I would never be the type of person, him and Strom Thurmond and Barack Obama. I'm that jungle monkey that escaped the jungle. How about that? Because I can't stand to listen to that man.
Doc?
Ugh.
Well, I'll let Mr. Binky go first. Go ahead.
Go, Bink.
And just one thing, you're listening to a man who showered with his daughter.
Yes. Yes. Mr. Pedophile. And the thing of it is too, here Joe is explicitly saying, this is why I say the people who voted for Joe and that are black, you voted for your own demise, because here he is in 1993 pushing this crime bill through, knowing that it was unconstitutional, totally unconstitutional. The sentencing was bad. The amount of the quantity was bad, because under this bill, the way Joe did it, if you got caught with just a quarter-sized piece of rock cocaine, you did 5 years right away. I'm gonna play a little bit more of this, guys.
Prison systems that they could build, state prison systems. And you have 93 out of every 100 people in jail now is in a state prison, not in a federal prison, because they built more prisons.
Now, we can find some fringe folks in the study groups on the right wing and left wing, libertarians and left wingers in my party who say, no, that's not what we should do.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong opposition to the McCulloch Amendment and, in fact, in strong opposition to this so-called crime prevention bill. Mr. Speaker, let us be honest. This is not a crime prevention bill. This is a punishment bill, a retribution bill, a vengeance bill. All over the industrialized world now, countries are saying, let us put an end to state murder. Let us stop capital punishment. But here what we're talking about is more and more capital punishment. What we're discussing now is an issue where some of our friends are saying we're not getting tough enough on the criminals. But my friends, we have the highest percentage of people in America in jail per capita of any industrialized nation on earth.
Okay, guys, you know who that was, don't you?
Oh, Mr. Sanders. Bernie Sanders. And you know what? You may not like him, but he's been consistent. Do you know what I'm saying? He's never changed his stance on that. He's never changed his stance on that. And see, what a lot of people don't really think about, and this is just my opinion, is that crime bill, all it did was reintroduce slavery. Okay, because we got to remember, under the 13th Amendment, if you commit a crime, you are then a slave. Right? Your rights are taken away, but it doesn't mean that you stop working, right? You were still working for these companies, quote unquote, for pennies on the dollar every day. So these people can be rehabilitated. They don't want rehabilitation because it was a softer way to still have slavery without calling people slaves, because it focused on one demographic and no one else. It didn't focus on crime. You focused on a demographic. That bill should have been DOA on the floor because it was based on race, right?
Exactly.
But it wasn't. And no one said anything because they were all in on it.
And that is the
really goes back to our government.
Yes.
Yeah, what she's talking about is the privatized institution of the prisons right now. So if you go ahead and put that in, they just, like she said, they got to still work. They get their 3 hots in the cot, but now they just slaves for the, the Bush Clan and everybody else up there that owns a private prison.
You want to say something, Mr. Binky?
Well, it's just like Dr. Nichols said, slavery nor involuntary servitude. Those pretty key words there. Mm-hmm. So to put it, give you an example, a driver's license. You're told you got to go to the Secretary of State to get a driver's license. So what you're doing is you're going there and you want a license. What's that license make you your servant to that license?
Right.
See, you're giving up a right for a privilege, and they control that, just like a permit or right on anything. What government creates, government controls. And when you go to government wanting something, whether it's a driver's license, a building permit, welfare, I don't care what it is, you're subject to their rules and controls, just like going into a courtroom. That is their playground. And when you walk into that, you walk in there, you're subject to whatever they want to do. Lucretia, again, is an example. They're doing whatever they want, and they're ignoring anything she's got to say, because she's not in their party.
Let me say this, guys, because I can remember this very vividly on how it went down. See, once that they pulled all the economics out the black community, they had U.S. Steel on 87th. I mean, black people owned homes. They had all the businesses in the black community. The schools were second to none. I mean, it was a beautiful place. But then when it got to a place where the Democrats felt that they needed to take total control of the black community, because the black community was rising to be self-sufficient and on its own. And so they figured if they continue to grow like that, they're not going to have the Democratic Party. And the thing was, how do we control the black family and how do we control the black dollar?
How do you control anybody, Pastor?
You don't allow them to have their own businesses, and then you flood them with other people where they're forced to use their money out of their community to live.
But look at this. People think they own a house. They think they own a car.
Right.
They think they have a business. You do not. You pay, if you don't pay your taxes on your house, your house is gone.
You lose your house.
If you got a license plate on your car, the state has partial ownership of your car now. It's called usufruct. If you've got a business, you've got to have a business license.
Right.
Nothing that you can do today to control your own life because government has interjected something into your life, whether it's a tax, a permit, whatever, that controls you. This is not America no more that our founders wanted us to have.
Well, you know, Big,
Again,
you're
it's
correct.
Policies. And those are the policies you're talking about. Those aren't laws. They're policies. If we literally wanted to rebel and say, no more, you're not doing this, you're not, we the people.
But people are going to prison over victimless crimes.
Yes.
Just like Dr. or Pastor Lowry said, you got pot on you, you got whatever you got in your pocket that they deemed illegal, now they're throwing you in prison for.
Well, that was because, guys, check this out, because the laws were, before the 94 crime bill, if you got caught with marijuana, it was a ticket, a $75 ticket that you could pay, and it didn't even go on your record. Because everybody had jobs, everybody was working. Because out of that fear of the black community rising up the way Rosewood did and how the black Wall Street did, they wasn't going to have that. Because once black people had their own, they had no need to be slaves to anybody else, and they could create and do what they wanted to do. So the Democratic Party said, oh, hell no, we got to stop this. And that was when Bill Clinton got into office. See, I watched it, man. I watched our communities go from beautiful homes, the white picket fence, to the ghettos that you see that's now. Because when they took the economics out the black community, then they picked up the abortions with Planned Parenthood. They started draining people out of the system. And all of a sudden, when Bill Clinton got in, this was the turn. Bill Clinton created NAFTA, which pretty much took every job out the black community.
It did.
After NAFTA, then Joe Biden came and made the crime bill, because once they put the crack and the guns in there and they were telling black people, hey, man, y'all could get rich. They was killing and shooting. Crackheads was doing anything, having sex outside, stealing, robbing, going to stores. They literally, the Democratic Party, created this crime bill to destroy the black community. And I'm telling the black people watching this show, out there watching this show today, you need to know the history of the Democratic Party, because they're the ones who stepped up the pace and wrote these bills and turned the prisons private just so they could destroy the black community. Check out what Bill Clinton said.
We will have 100,000 police officers on the street, a 20% increase. It will be used to build prisons to keep 100,000 violent criminals off the street. We will have the means by which we can say punishment will be more certain.
The whippings of mass distraction have always been in the play. People follow their sports teams more than they follow the things that's going to affect them every day. So a lot of times the bills are passed and politicians go back and forth, and all of a sudden you turn around and there's a crime bill that not only affects your present, but really seriously affects your future.
Clinton passed a crime bill which allowed now 14-year-olds to be tried as adults, more prisons being built.
The impact of the crime bill is devastating and felt almost immediately. For example, the 3 strikes law. This idea that if you have 3 offenses, that you're out of here, right? Like you go away. It increases your sentencing dramatically. That is embedded into the crime bill.
Violent crimes should be told. When you commit a 3rd violent crime, you will be put away and put away for good.
For life.
Okay, and that's not a Black American. That was Jamaican, by the way.
Drugs.
Cocaine versus crack.
Crack, cocaine.
Cocaine versus crack cocaine.
The penalty for possession of 5 grams of crack cocaine, the drug used and sold by many young blacks, is 5 years in prison. The penalty for possession of 5 grams of powdered cocaine, the drug favored by the white middle class, is probation.
And that's why so many people who got caught with very small amounts ended up doing really major time.
Do you think you'll be coming back here again?
That's hard to say.
These communities were asking for help. We know that they were like, we have problems. But what they were asking for was to get to the root of the problem. So that doesn't mean locking up a generation of African Americans or labeling every Black man who walks out of his house a gangbanger.
Okay, guys, your thoughts on that?
Chuck D, Public Enemy. Really?
Yeah.
You know, up the police coming straight from stop. He the one that sold out there to the culture. In the late 80s, there's they want to call it a conspiracy. There was a big meeting out there in Los Angeles with
I remember that. And
everything else. So Chuck D was the one that helped. And you know, instead of having the happy rap music, Chuck D and Flavor Flav started coming out there with Public Enemy. So you part of that culture. They got a whole bunch of people thrown in jail. I was a roughneck when Public Enemy came out. Boy, I was wanting to fight everybody. Now they wanting to back away and say, Africa is the future. No, you created this mess. You helped create the mess to get your pockets full. Now there's a whole bunch of Black people that's stuck in jail. You should go ahead and have some responsibility for that, because the culture of the 90s, you know, hip hop, the hippie to the hippie to the hip hop. That was fun music. We can dance to it. When Public Enemy came out, you know, fight the power of that beat. We all out there fight the power. They had something to do with all that. They the one that helped mold that culture of going out there and destruction. So they need to take accountability for it.
Mr. Binky?
Yeah, I was hoping Dr. Nichols was going to jump back on here. What they were talking about, people going to prison and stuff, I wanted Dr. Nichols to give the biggest element of a crime. The biggest element of a crime is a victim. And if you've got pot on you, you got coke. I don't care what people do with their lives. You want to do drugs, do drugs. I don't care what you do, as long as you don't affect me. So, I mean, they're sitting there giving the example of 5 grams of crack cocaine will get you prison time and blah, blah, blah. Well, there's no victim there other than the guy being convicted. He's now turned into a criminal. Why? Because the law said so. So the law, in that manner, as we've been talking, how corrupt the legal system is, they could come up with a law saying, if you've got 3 tablets of aspirin, we can consider that a crime now. So now you can go to prison for having too many aspirin. They're making these laws up, David, that no matter what we do, we could be considered as a criminal. There she is.
Okay. Your thought?
My internet likes to just drop out. Like,
go ahead. Your thoughts on this video, Doc? Because the reason why I am glad you got back in here was because about a week ago, I had spoke to the pardon czar and Mr. Kwame Kilpatrick, and I talked to him about doing something to change the dynamics in our community because of the pain and suffering that the crime bill caused. And so they told me, they said, Pastor, well, put something together, get something together, and then we'll put it in, we'll package it up, we'll get the support we need, and we'll send it up to President Trump. And so we did do that. Doc and her wisdom and with her team put together something that's going to rescind the crime bill. But to black people, we're going to get into that just a second. I want to show you that after y'all voted, all of y'all who voted for Joe, after we've seen all this evidence of him destroying the black community, after we saw Bill Clinton talk about, yeah, we going to do this and do that, and the things that they did to open the prisons and make them private and to create slavery for black men across this country, I don't see how that you could even in your mind think that today, the way we've seen the illegal migrants who have come here, who the Democrats opened the door for them to be here, this is the last straw for black people to be dealing with the Democratic Party. I think that those who watch this would have a good idea of who the real enemy is. And if you don't know who the real enemy is after this, then you just lost. I want to play a little clip from President Trump and what he said to Joe Biden about him and that crime bill when he ran for office the first time, and then he started that First Step program, releasing black men back to their families.
My opponent drafted the 1994 disaster, the 1994 crime bill, which caused unfair sentencing disparities that devastated black families. And I mean, just devastated. I have heard more about the 1994. And when we did criminal justice reform, it was largely about erasing that terrible act. That was his deal. I rolled back the unfair provisions of the 1994 Biden crime bill, and I signed it into groundbreaking criminal justice reform, which people are so happy about. Even my enemies are saying thank you for that.
That was me in the background. That was
what was you say? That was you back there?
That was me. I was at that one.
Oh,
Were you?
hilarious.
Well, the reason why
I had with Dr. Ben Carson, and we said
my opponent drafted the.
This is the same one.
The reason why I said go ahead, Lucretia. You said you was at that rally.
Absolutely. All of the heavy hitter in black conservatives was at that rally in Atlanta, Georgia, from Diamond and Silk. I mean, all of us was in that room because it was over there at in Cobb County. So when you heard, thank you, President Trump, that was me. I tried to shout as loud as I could.
So I found you, huh? Then folks, now take a look at what we've seen with Joe Biden and Bill Clinton talking about he set it up that way. I opened up the more prisons to put the Negroes in jail. They're admitting this is all the Democratic Party doing these things. And yet they saying right now, you got to hate Trump. Trump's a racist. Trump this, Trump that. And yet Trump just got up here and said that he made provisions to get rid of some of the sentencing and all of that in the crime bill. And Doc, that'll lead into what we finna talk about right now, because Doc, let's talk a little bit about this paperwork that you sent me.
So it's a draft, and what it did was I went through and pretty much undid what they put as enforcement. And a lot of people are like, how can you overturn something like this? Well, you can do it based on the fact that it harmed a specific demographic. On a race-based situation. It didn't say any and all criminals that were, dealing with crack cocaine, right? Because if it had, then it would have been to the overarching general populace. But you focused on one specific community and you based it on race and nothing else. And nothing else. So the government did a specific harm, something that you weren't supposed to do, because the framers of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment basically put in provisions where the federal government nor the state government could come back and do something like this. But you found an excuse. You said, this is because of drugs. This is because of their behavior. This is because they cannot act within society civilly, which is a lie. So
Exactly.
we can all prove that you caused the problem, and this was a
Yes.
solution which was worse than the problem that it solved. And so my draft for the House and Senate goes to making sure that people are freed based on if they were harmed directly by this bill. So this doesn't absolve anybody else of criminal behavior. It just absolves the people that were harmed by the bill. If that makes sense.
And go ahead, Bink. Go ahead.
Throw something at you, Dr. Nichols.
Mhm.
How about a crime reform law bill? Okay, and what I'm getting at is, being as you got some legal background here, you know that there's no crime if there's no victim, correct? You
Right.
got to have a victim in order for it to be a crime. So if there's no victim, should anybody go to jail or prison over a policy violation? You know, you brought that up earlier. I loved it when you said that policy. So shouldn't we come up with a crime law reform bill that if there's no victim, nobody goes to jail, nobody goes to prison, and that policies can't establish somebody to have their freedoms unless there's a victim involved? You know, I'm trying to sum it up real quick.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, technically we have that, but people aren't following the Constitution.
Well, that's
exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? And they're writing policies above the Constitution that are stripping people of their rights. And I hear where you're coming from. Shouldn't there be an amendment that puts in place? You cannot create, because you're not supposed to do that anyway. You're not supposed to create laws that infringe upon people's rights. And we actually have an amendment that states that, but people are still violating it. And there's no trigger for citizens to say, hey, you're in violation of the law. You know why? Because you said it just yourself. It's about just us.
Well,
and not justice.
And again, the protectors of our Constitution are we the people.
Right.
So we've got to speak up and start telling our servants, our servants, what they're doing wrong. We need to speak up. And the only way, like what I'm getting at here is, the only way you can do that is if you play their game their way.
Yeah,
So
that's why I started the party. So we can have candidates that do exactly what you're talking about and stand against this nonsense.
Chris?
Yeah.
With your party, you know, you have to get a lot of petitions just to get a person's name on the actual ballot to have some kind of power or be a power player. But then you got to have the Republicans and the Democrats to push back.
But that's in this state, not every state. Because some states you can be a write-in. Some states you can just get on the ballot. Some states you can pay to get on the ballot. It depends on the state that you're in. You only have to get 5% of the vote in Indiana for governorship to actually be recognized as a party in Indiana. So each state has its own governing rules to get people on the ballot.
We both live in Georgia.
Yes, ma'am. And you got to have 5,000 votes, 5,000 petition, 5,000 people, something like that. Signatures to get on the ballot for certain positions. But again, Georgia is just like Indiana. All you have to do is get 5% of the vote. If I ran somebody as a redemptionist for governor, all they need is 5% of the vote. They don't even have to win to be recognized as a party in this state.
Ooh, you're gonna upset a lot of people.
Well, you know, that's
the goal.
That's the reason why you know, we have been coming together as organizations. And I think that we're getting more people with this rescinding of the crime bill and this amendment. We have been able to garner, just in the last few days, different organizations have called me. They want to support this bill. Like I said, I'm giving it to Kwame Kilpatrick. He and I and Ms. Johnson will tweak it, and then we're going to present it to the president, because we have black men in jail who somebody said their name and they didn't even have dope. They weren't even dope dealers who are locked up right now.
Wow.
I just like with Larry Hoover. I mean, Larry Hoover had nothing to do with the crimes. Trump saw that, he dismissed it, but he's still lavishing in prison right now because of the fact that J.B. Pritzker is just holding him in there after he done did over 50-some years. That's well over 2.5 life sentences, and he should have been out. But he's using them for a political pawn. But the point that I'm trying to make to the black community, this bill would open the prison doors and right the wrong that Joe Biden did by making the bill target the black community. They made it punishable to us. They made it to where this whole thing was set up with this crime bill to first destroy the black family by taking the black man out and putting him in prison and allowing all these other things to happen with the guns, the crack. I mean, it was horrible for the black community. And we're at this place because of Joe Biden and his crime bill and all the dope and all the guns that they put into our community to get us to this place. So my point is this, black people, we got future elections coming up. We cannot deal with the Democratic Party because they're the ones who caused our communities to be in the condition that it is now. This rescinding of the crime bill that I will be submitting to the president once we get it tweaked up, this will open the prison doors for all that bullshit that he did with the little quarter piece of cocaine, and then there was a man had an airplane full of powder cocaine, tons of it, and he got probation. Just like the guy said, the differentials in the laws, they made these laws specifically to destroy the black community, to kill our economics, and make our children future slaves for the jail system. What do you think about that, Mr. Binky?
Yeah, no, that's the whole thing. Our legal system has gone way too far. Our lawmakers have gone, and I truthfully, our laws are created by attorneys, not by lawmakers. They've got every lawmaker in there has got an attorney in there going through all this stuff. And I'm sorry, but an attorney is a person who turns things. They twist things. And there are attorneys there that are reading you hear constitutional laws, but that attorney is sitting there trying to figure out how in this Constitution it says this. How can I twist this a little bit to make this law work right? Because if I put it through just like it says, it can't get passed because it violates the Constitution. So here they're sitting in there trying to figure out how to take that law, twist it a little bit, make it sound good. Oh, well, let's see. We've got a right for the safety and welfare of the people. So now they twist it. And everybody's a criminal now. I mean, let me give you an example here. I had a guy tell me he was going through a part of a town that I live in, and he was stopped by the police. And the police, he asked, why am I being stopped? And the cop told him, because you're in a neighborhood that's considered a high-risk district for drugs. So, government created the war on drugs.
Yes.
So what they did was this area is suspicious for drugs. So anybody in that area can be stopped now because of the idea that this area is suspicious for drugs. So now you're considered suspicious being in that area of maybe buying drugs.
Wow.
So little things like that is what our government's doing daily.
Yeah, twisting the Fourth Amendment. There's no probable cause, but you created a policy to create a probable cause.
Bingo.
But and Doc, I'm glad that we had an opportunity to create this, because for the simple fact is all of those petty laws that they used back in the day, just like what Binky is saying, that we smell marijuana in your car. And so now guess what? You done lost your car because they created a bill, a little ordinance in certain places where if they caught you with a little pot in your car, they took your car. Yep. They impounded your car and they took it, said it was part of drug transactions. I mean, they did everything with this 94 crime bill explicitly to destroy the black community. It was created so black people, you see the condition that we are in right now. It was Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, all of those people of the Democratic Party are the ones who have deceived you and made you think that they're helping us when they're actually not.
Yeah. And the unfortunate irony in all of this is that his own son,
Well, see,
his
God don't
own
like ugliness.
son was, unfortunately became a crack addict. He became addicted to the very substance that he said he was trying to stop. But you know what was really interesting? You never stopped the flow of this crack in the Black community. You never stopped the flow of the actual drugs because that wasn't your focus. You never focused on rehabilitating the individuals in the community. You never focused on educating these individuals. All you wanted to do was make a straw
Lock them
man,
up.
place blame, and lock them up. That was your job with this bill, and that's the sad part.
Dr. Nichols, if you stop the flow of drugs into the community, then how are you going to make criminals?
Exactly.
And see, the pattern was like that. Once that they got this crack in our community with the guns and the drugs, the crazy music, all of that, then they came back and said, oh, well, you know what? We finna make the prisons private. They privatized the prisons, and after our communities and in this place, all the police had to do was come in and start filing charges, arresting people for crack, all of that. This was this whole thing was totally set up by the Democratic Party, and I'm trying to get our educated people to see, the ones who are in the Democratic Party, you guys forgot what it was to watch your cousins now be killed and locked up. It was more Black men killed under the Obama administration than any other administration. He made laws to protect the officers for killing Black men and women. Y'all see it yourself, but yet and still, Joe Biden was put into office to finish us off, and he did that. His job was to finish the Black community off. He did it with the homosexuals. He did it with the prisons. He did it with the crime bill. And think about this. Everybody talking about, well, Joe will apologize. Well, if Joe wanted to be sincere about his apology for creating the crime bill that helped destroy the Black community, why didn't he rescind the bill himself? Lucretia?
Joe Biden don't care. He's the puppet master of Barack Hussein Obama. He wasn't smart enough to do majority of the stuff that he was doing. So I don't, at this point, his lawyers, Joe Biden I'm talking about, his lawyers, his teams are now asking Donald Trump to go easy on him and to forgive him of the auto pen. No, absolutely not.
Nope. Yeah. And I'm going to play this and we're going to get out of here. I want y'all thoughts on this last piece.
Somehow the Republicans tried to make the crime bill tougher. I say poppycock. They didn't make anything tougher. I wrote that bill. He convinced that and found out that this midnight basketball isn't getting them together a bunch of jive folks who are Black, white, and Hispanic who live in their city to do, try to see if they can be Michael Jordan. When they found out that we're keeping schools open, so gangs come off streets instead of out raping my mother, marauding me, robbing the local store. They're in a gymnasium. My daughter will be safer. My wife will be safer. My mother will be safer. And I will be safer. And I will be happy.
You stood up and used that tough on crime, phony rhetoric. That bill was a huge mistake.
There's no question that crime bill contributed to America's mass incarceration problem.
Folks, let's get something straight. 92 out of every 100 prisoners behind the bars are in a state prison, not a federal prison. This idea that the crime bill generated mass incarceration, it did not generate mass incarceration.
Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now, not out of a liberal instinct for love, brother, and humanity, although I think that's a good instinct, but for simple pragmatic reasons. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now.
Bobby Rush, member of Congress, said the other day, "I'm ashamed that I voted for the 94 crime bill." You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. And in fact, I drafted the bill, as you remember.
I know that.
He's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community. And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said that. He said it, super predators. And they have never lived that down. 1994, your crime bill, the super predators.
Your response to that, Vice President?
My response to that is I never, ever said what he accused me of saying.
And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale.
That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories.
And what happened with the crime bill and its implementation was that there was too much of a focus, too many resources on locking them up, but no resources on love and compassion.
My husband has apologized. He was the president who actually signed it. Senator Sanders
what about
voted
you,
for it.
Senator?
I'm sorry for the consequences that were unintended and that have had a very unfortunate impact on people's lives.
An awful lot of people were jailed for minor drug crimes after the
Exactly right.
Was it a mistake to support it?
Yes, it was.
Was this bill essentially fueling what we now know as mass incarceration?
There's no question that it fueled it. It incentivized prison construction. It incentivized states to pass more draconian laws. It incentivized states to take away the eligibility for parole. It held this carrot out here for states to, in effect, embrace systems of mass incarceration.
Well, they
Okay,
didn't
guys.
bring back her line where she says these super predators. There is a video of Hillary Clinton out there calling them super predators. Stop that. Stop
it.
that.
All them
Well,
damn
yes,
lies.
my husband did that, but you voted for it. Bernie Sanders did not vote for the 1994 crime bill. He voted against it.
But you see,
Are you
Bobby
serious
Rush,
right now?
Bobby Rush, a black man, another black man who said, "I'm sorry, I voted for it." You see, he was a Democrat.
They
The
voted
point that I'm
lockstep.
making,
Maxine Waters voted for it. Joe Lewis
Right.
voted for it. They voted for it, not
But the-
against it.
but the point that I'm making to our listeners and to the black community, as you can see, let's get it straight and let's not be twisted. We know it was the Democratic Party who Joe wrote it. Bill Clinton got signed it. Then he made the prisons private. Then they used state laws to come after people beyond the crime bill. They was firing teachers out of the black schools. I mean, they started closing black schools because they were saying they was in drug areas. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Black people, what you see now in our community, the self-hatred, the no economics, we have nothing but problems. We got millions and millions of our dollars, taxpayer dollars, being sent to everybody else, but nobody is saying what we did to the black community was wrong. We need to fix it. We need to make this right. And that's why, Doc, I'm so glad we have wrote this bill. Hopefully we can get this bill passed. We can open the door to all of those petty crimes, because that's why this bill was written. We can open the door to those petty crimes. President Trump, I will be meeting with you, and I'm expecting for you to get this bill passed through the House of Representatives and the Senate so that we can make these people whole and open the prison doors and let all those black men and women who are still locked up under the 94 crime bill that Joe Biden, when he was the president, did not rescind, or Barack Obama, when he was the president, did not rescind. And if they wanted to be right by the black community, they would have rescinded those laws and opening those prison doors and let all of those people who are sitting there lavishing away from their families, black people, to be released. Your last words, Lucretia.
I can't stand them.
Okay. Tell us how you really feel.
Listen, they have destroyed the Black community. The Democrats have too. But to sit there and listen to what this freak got to say when your own crackhead of a son is more than a felon than my kids will ever be is insulting. And to see all of those Black people way back then in the 90s sit there and earth behind him like this is kosher for what them to say, and then they go say, we sorry, everybody, we should have been paying attention. They got their cut too. I don't care at this point, Pastor. They all crooks.
Mr. Binky.
Well, all I can say is Mr. Biden, the only way I'm going to feel safe is when you and people like you are out of my life. Instead of worrying about my health and safety, you worry about my freedoms.
Yeah.
I don't need your help to tell me how I'm supposed to live. We don't need your help to tell the Black community, the white community, the Asian, the Latino. We want our freedoms back that we were guaranteed when our founders created this country. You are the problem, not the people. And to all lawmakers, if you can't create laws to protect our rights, don't create no laws at all. We're done with this stuff.
Thank you.
Doc?
Yeah. And thank you for just giving me and my team the opportunity to work on a House resolution and a Senate resolution to amend the 1994 crime bill. And I would also make a plea to the president while we are here for marijuana to reschedule it, right? If you are to reschedule it as a class 3, the other thing that needs to be done is that all of the offenses at the federal level need to be removed. You need to remove it as a federal offense, because if you don't, and you free these men that were once incarcerated for a bill that specifically targeted them, not women, men, specifically targeted them, they'll end up right back in prison, because we have so many states that have at the state level, right, made it legal, but it's still a federal offense. So it has to be a 1-2 punch with this to make sure that these men are not just made free, but they're made whole.
Yes.
Dr. Nichols, could I say this on what you said? Have the government prove to you where they have authority to begin with.
Exactly.
To create those laws and penalties. They don't.
They don't.
Guys, I want to thank you for the show, and it's heartfelt, man. Doc, again, to President Trump, I look forward to meeting with you. It's in the works for us to come together, and let's take a look at how we can get rid of all the bad things that this crime bill brought to the Black community, because we can clearly see that we were targeted. It was put in our community, the drugs, the guns, it was put in our community for a reason. So let us get together and get this bill passed that would rescind the 94 crime bill. It would open the prison doors and allow for those non-violent crimes, the 2 pieces of crack cocaine, all of those small petty crimes, the ones of the ghost dope. You know, I want to say this, happy birthday to a friend of mine, Mr. Terry Smith. He's locked up out here, and it's his birthday today. And he is one of those people who have been locked up behind the ghost dope, and I've been fighting like hell to get him released. We've already sent information to the pardon czar, but I want to wish him a happy birthday. And brother, stay strong. We're going to push this thing through because he got locked up because somebody said his name. He didn't even have no dope, and they didn't even have no dope. And he's sitting in the prisons right now, and it's been well over 20 years. So, Brother Smith, we're going to be fighting for you. I'm pushing this bill to President Trump, and as soon as that we can get it to an audience to where it can get signed and passed, it will be a blessing to see all these brothers come home. Thanks, guys, for being on the show. Great show. And I'll be seeing you later, Mr. Mickey. Folks, thank you for watching the show. I want you to share the show around. The Living and Driving While Black Foundation, in conjunction with the Redemption Party, will continue to write bills to right the wrong that the Democrats have done to the Black community. And these are my last words. to the Black community and to the American people and patriots across this country, I would ask that those who know what we're doing here with the Living and Driving While Black Foundation and the Redemption Party look past any of us being of any party. Look at the damage that Joe Biden and the Democrats did to the Black community. This was not by chance. It was all intentional. The way that they wrote the bill to incarcerate us, to destroy our communities, to split our families up, all the information that we put out there that this bill caused. Bill Clinton privatized the prisons to make Black men and Black women a commodity. Barack Obama didn't fix it. And when Joe Biden got in office, he didn't fix it. He lied. He said he didn't do it. He didn't call predators. But out of his own mouth, you heard what he said. To the Black community, there is a ray of hope for us. If we take our time now and look at our situation, and I'm asking you guys to support our foundations in the Redemption Party so that we can get this bill rescinded, that it would open the doors to our people and our men to come back home, to be in our families. In the new bill that we're submitting, it also will make those who were affected by the bill whole. We're asking for monetary reparations for what they've done in this bill. And I'm asking all organizations that know me, I've had some that call me already that support it. I have pastors across the country who have seen this draft, they support it. And we're going to stand strong and go to the president and ask him to sign this bill into law, to remove the crime bill, to make whole of all those prisoners who have been affected by it come home, and make sure that they got some money in their pocket. When we rescind this bill, we can take the monies that's in this bill, because we're going to be working on this for at least 10 years. At least 10 years. They'll try to make the wrong right that the Democrats did with the 94-90 crime bill, and y'all elected Joe Biden the president, who said that Black people, our race is untamable in so many words. He said we had no structure, we had nothing, but we had everything before the Democratic Party came in and destroyed it. God bless you. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.